how do societies truly grapple with those powerful, difficult ideas that seem to spread everywhere, touching, every part of our lives? Huge question, isn't it? A really complex one. Here on the Deep Dive, our mission is, well, pretty straightforward. We take a stack of your sources, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, and basically give you a shortcut to being truly well-informed. And today we're diving into a particularly fascinating case study. We're looking at how an education policy in one Indian state, Tamilnadu, is presented by our source material as a strategic bulwark against fascism.
Yeah, that's right. Our source for this deep dive is an article called Tamil Nadu's Education Policy, a Bulwark Against Fascism by Mujib Ak. And one really striking point the source makes right from the start is how it defines fascism itself. It argues that, we often think of fascism as just a political party or maybe a military takeover, but the truly chilling insight here, according to the source, is how it describes fascism as something far more insidious, like an ideology that subtly seeps into every corner of society, aiming to control not just actions, but thoughts, beliefs, even lifestyles.
Wow.
This isn't just about grand political movements, it's about what you think, what you believe, how you live every day.
Okay, so it's not just about political power then. It's about the very fabric of society, dictating how people think and live. That really shifts the scale of the challenge. And if that's the case, if criticism isn't enough, what is needed, according to our source?
Exactly, that's a key point. The source emphasizes that criticism alone is insufficient. It just isn't enough. What's required, it argues, are clear, practical stances and, importantly, concrete, positive alternatives that genuinely offer a different path.
Right, positive alternatives.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that as our starting point, our mission for this deep dive is to really understand why, according to the source, Tamil Nadu's education policy is seen as more than just, a set of reforms. It's presented as a practical political stance, and we'll explore what lessons it might hold for how you think about confronting these kinds of broad societal challenges. Okay, let's unpack this. How can something like an education policy be a key blueprint for a larger ideological struggle? That sounds almost all counterintuitive. We usually think of fighting broad ideologies with, grand political movements or protests. But an education policy, that's a fascinating pivot. How does our source connect those dots?
It's a great question, and the source lays out a pretty compelling argument. It connects it to the bigger picture by arguing that fascist forces attempt to create division in society. They try to distort history and weaken constitutional principles.
Okay.
So the ideology of resistance, therefore, must actively uphold democratic values, secularism, and social justice.
Makes sense.
And these aren't just abstract ideas, they need practical implementation, day-to-day stuff. The Tamil Nadu government's new education policy is offered up as exactly such a model. It's about building something, not just opposing.
Right. And this policy, it wasn't developed in a vacuum, was it? Mm-hmm. Our source highlights that the central government's proposed national education policy, the NEP, well, that had faced significant criticism for allegedly ignoring the country's pluralism and regional distinctiveness.
That's a crucial piece of context, yeah.
Things like concerns about imposing the Hindi language, which is a really sensitive issue in many parts of India, especially the South, violations of federal principles, a centralized curriculum. These aspects were, in the source's view, seen by many as part of a move towards a more centralized, maybe even potentially authoritarian system.
Mm-hmm. And it's quite telling how the source points out that instead of just protesting or, issuing some counter-declaration, the Tamil Nadu government took what it calls a courageous step. They actually proposed an alternative.
Okay.
They formulated an education policy that explicitly respected the cultural and linguistic identity of Tamil society. The article makes it really clear this wasn't just some administrative decision. It was framed as a practical way of living out a political stand against fascism itself.
Creating something new and different.
Exactly, building something positive.
That's a powerful distinction, moving beyond just protest to actively proposing an alternative.
So, what were the specific ideas within this Tamil Nadu education policy? What does the source say makes it such a potent counter-narrative? What were its foundational pillars?
Right. The policy, as described in the source, it puts forward several key principles that directly challenge the ideological tendencies it aims to counter. First, it emphasizes state autonomy, so pushing back against central control, ensuring states have greater authority in education. That strengthens the federal principle. Second, it gives a priority to the local language. It's not just recognizing mother tongue education, but actively protecting Tamil as a cornerstone of identity and culture. The source even directly quotes Mother tongue Tamil is our identity, our pride. So it's not just about learning in Tamil, but about preserving the culture through the language. It's deeper than just pedagogy.
That quote really hammers home the assertion of cultural identity. What other foundational pillars did this policy build upon? Well, third, it champions social justice, aiming to ensure quality education for backward and marginalized sections of society. Fostering a system that truly provides equal opportunities for everyone, not just a select few.
Right. Equal opportunity.
Crucial. And finally, it strongly emphasizes critical thinking, nurturing the ability to question, along with scientific temper and logical reasoning in students.
That last one, the critical thinking, that feels key, doesn't it? It's directly fostering intellectual immunity against manipulation, perhaps.
I think that's exactly how the source presents it, yes.
It sounds like a very comprehensive approach.
Yeah.
This raises an important question, though. Why does the source consider this policy a model for confronting these challenges rather than just, another reform? What makes it a model?
Because as the source explains it, it didn't stop at mere criticism. It didn't just say no. It actively sought to construct a positive alternative.
Oh, there's that phrase again.
Yeah. When fascism, as the source describes it, instills fear by trying to dictate thought and erode local identity, a democratic alternative like this education policy offers hope. It offers confidence. It does that by empowering people with critical thinking skills and by valuing their cultural heritage.
So it's a tangible demonstration.
Exactly. A tangible demonstration that there's a different, more inclusive way forward. And the article suggests that other states could follow this model, adapting educational policies, maybe other policies too, to their own unique social and cultural circumstances.
Building resilience region by region.
Precisely. This, it argues, would strengthen federal principles and counter those fascist tendencies. The struggle against fascism, in this view, shouldn't be confined to speeches or protests. It must be reflected in every policy formulation, every administrative action. Tamilnadu's path, according to the source, stands as a kind of beacon in this fight.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, the source argues that the real power of this policy lies not just in its specific content, but in the very act of constructing a tangible alternative, offering something concrete for people to believe in instead of just reacting against fear.
You've got it. That's the core argument.
That's a really compelling case for proactive policymaking.
Absolutely. It's about designing solutions that actively build up what you believe in, rather than just spending all your energy tearing down what you don't.
So let's just briefly recap the core argument we discussed today. We've seen how, according to our source, one state's education policy is presented as a proactive, practical blueprint for addressing a pervasive ideological threat.
And to summarize the key takeaways, the source really emphasizes the power of building positive alternatives rather than just opting criticism. It's not just about saying no. It highlights the importance of designing solutions that respect local context and identity, strengthening principles like state autonomy, social justice, and
So what does this all mean for you listening in? This deep dive shows us, I think, how profound societal struggles can be addressed, not just through grand statements, maybe not just through protests, but through fundamental, well-considered policy choices that are rooted in democratic values and local identity. It's a reminder that change can often begin in the most practical, everyday ways.
And this raises an important question, maybe a final thought to leave you with. Beyond education, where else might you identify a need for a positive alternative? A concrete, constructive path forward when confronting complex challenges in your own community or maybe your field. Think about how these principles strengthening local autonomy, nurturing critical thought, ensuring social justice, how could they be applied in surprising ways, perhaps far beyond just government policy?